a run club in Bali has had its founder kicked out of the country because they decided not to invite people from actual Indonesia into their events. Now, this is one of the founders here, and this is the run club in question. It was originally set up for digital nomads, which kind of makes sense. If you're a digital nomad in Bali, you want to get to know people, come to our run club, and it's a really good way of doing that. But the problem is that when local people tried to get in touch to be like, I want to come too, they basically were cancelling their tickets and saying, no, you can't come. The problem is that when they tried to apologize afterwards, it was clearly in reflection because they weren't clear, they weren't respectful when they were cancelling bookings. They were just cancelling them. And if you were really doing this because you wanted to keep to the integrity of the event, then what will be really obvious is that you would be like, excuse me, as to our terms and conditions, this is what it is, this is why it's important, please do come to another event. But that wasn't the case. They were just saying no and cancelling, or saying it's not for you and cancelling. The screen grabs of some of the conversations that they were having were clear that this is a bunch of out-of-towners exploiting a country, trying to create an experience, an event, and a community in a country without inviting the locals. Could you imagine in England or the United States where I'll be like, oh, I'm hosting a club, but you can't come? That would never happen.
This viral run club in Bali has gone from social media sensation to the center of a national scandal because Indonesian authorities say Bali locals were being excluded, and now 2 Dutch organizers are banned from returning to Indonesia by its Director General for Immigration. Entourage Bali built a huge following with its silent disco runs through Canggu, attracting hundreds of digital nomads and tourists. They shared videos on their social media, but then local Indonesians began posting screenshots like these. Are you from Bali? By the way, are you Indonesian? Yes, I am. That explains why you're not accepted, because it's an automatic system and we're a platform for digital nomads. Then more people came forward, some claiming they were rejected after saying they were Indonesian, but foreign applicants appeared to be accepted. One comparison that went viral appears to show a German applicant immediately approved, while an Indonesian applicant received a message saying access couldn't be offered. Other locals said they were simply ghosted after revealing they were Indonesian. Now, Indonesia's immigration agency says it's investigating allegations the event violated immigration rules and discriminated against local residents. The backlash exploded across Indonesian social media. Many argued foreigners were building exclusive communities on an island where locals themselves couldn't participate. The organizers apologized, saying an automated admission system had incorrectly rejected some Indonesian phone numbers, creating unintended bias. They announced they were suspending all events. Indonesia's immigration agency says the 2 Dutch organizers are under investigation for suspected immigration violations, and officials said the pair left the country before investigators could question them. They've now been placed on the immigration blacklist, preventing them from re-entering Indonesia. The controversy comes as Bali pushes what's called quality tourism, cracking down on foreigners who authorities say are working, organizing businesses, or creating commercial content without the proper permits.
Did y'all hear that? Why don't you go to a different country? A white man sitting comfortably on stolen land, looking at a black child whose ancestors built this nation's wealth with unpaid labor, and telling her to leave. Let me be crystal clear so nobody pretends they misunderstood me. That is not a good faith question. That is a threat dressed up as curiosity. It is the modern version of know your place. Now, watch how quickly the conversation shifts when history enters the room. The moment someone starts talking about Francis Scott Key being a slave owner, the moment someone mentions black soldiers fighting in the Revolution and still coming home to chains, the moment Vietnam vets came back to the same N-word they left, suddenly the other side gets loud, interrupts, and falls back on the oldest dodge in the book. If you hate it so much, leave. They never want to debate the history. They want to silence it. Let's talk about that history because they hope you don't know it. After the Civil War, General Sherman issued Special Field Order Number 15, 40 acres and a mule, land, a real chance at economic independence for people who had been property. For a brief second, the United States admitted that freedom without land is just a slower form of slavery. Then Andrew Johnson became president and reversed it. The land was given back to the same Confederates who had just tried to destroy the country. Black veterans and freed people were left with nothing but sharecropping and terror. That was the first big bounce check. Fast forward to World War II. Black men fought fascism overseas, came home, and the GI Bill, the greatest wealth-building program in American history, was deliberately administered in a way that locked most black veterans out. Local banks and officials, especially in the South, refused loans. Black colleges were underfunded. Housing covenants and redlining kept black families out of the suburbs that white veterans used to build generational wealth. Same uniform, same sacrifice, different outcome, on purpose. This is not a few bad apples. This is a pattern. Extract black labor and black blood when the nation is in danger. Then, when the danger passes, deny the full benefits of citizenship and call it individual responsibility. And when a black child grows up seeing that pattern in her own family and decides she will not perform empty loyalty, the response is outrage, not reflection. Outrage. They act like standing for the pledge is the highest form of patriotism. But real patriotism would be making the country worthy of that pledge. Real patriotism would mean keeping the promises made to the people who bled for it. Instead, we get lectures from people whose ancestors got the land, the loans, the education, and the benefit of the doubt, while ours got the backlash, the lynchings, the red lines, and the "why don't you leave?" Let me say something that makes some people uncomfortable. Black Americans do not need permission to criticize this country. We have earned the right through blood, every generation, and no, we will not leave. Not because we love every part of America, but because our labor, our brilliance, our dead are already in the soil. This is not a hotel. We are not guests. We are the unpaid co-founders who were never given equity. When they say, if you don't like it, leave, what they really mean is, stop reminding us of the debt. Stop making us look at the receipts. Be quiet and be grateful for the scraps. We are done being quiet. That little girl standing, or refusing to stand, is not the problem. The problem is a nation that still gets more offended by a child's refusal to perform than by centuries of broken promises. That's the real scandal. Look, family, I'm not here to tell you what to feel. I'm here to make sure the full story gets told, because the sanitized version is killing us. Black veterans have been used as props for American democracy while being denied the substance of it. That is not opinion. That is the historical record. If this video made you mad, good. Sit with that anger and then channel it into knowledge, into organizing, into refusing the gaslighting. If it made you think, even better, share it. Comment with the history you were never taught in school. And if you're one of those people who still wants to say, just leave, understand this. We are not going anywhere. We built too much. We buried too many. And the debt is still outstanding. Drop a like if you made it this far. Subscribe if you want more of this unfiltered history. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Stay dangerous with the truth. Peace.
Number one thing I dislike about Bali is the type of tourist it attracts. I seriously don't understand why some people come all the way to Bali and treat it as their personal playground that they can mold into whatever they want. You're in a beautiful island surrounded by beautiful people and a beautiful culture. And instead of experiencing all of that, you decide to run an event that excludes locals from it. The Entourage running group is currently under fire for running a silent disco event and excluding locals from joining it. They had this excuse that the event was for digital nomads, so locals weren't invited. But imagine you go to someone's house as a guest, because yes, as a tourist you are a guest in someone's country, and you decide to run an event and you tell the owner of the house, no, sorry, you have to leave the house because you're not actually invited to this event, even though we're hosting it at your house. Like, are you serious? And as a digital nomad myself, I'm sorry, but one of the main reasons I travel is not to stay in some digital nomad bubble and only meet other nomads. I travel to experience other cultures, learn from them, grow from them, and to meet friends with locals. It's funny because when my husband and I first came to Bali a couple of months ago, we joined a couple of Entourage events because we wanted to make friends. And in those events, the first thing I noticed as an Asian woman was that I was one of like 2 Asian people in those events. And this is an event that's run in Asia. The fact that I'm a minority made me feel pretty uncomfortable. Also the fact that there were 0 Indonesians. So we stopped going. And I remember at some point, I was still a part of these WhatsApp groups. There was a Dutch party and it felt so exclusive to the point that people were asking like, are we invited even though we aren't Dutch? And this is a Dutch party in Indonesia, a country that the Netherlands colonized for more than 300 years. Like, doesn't that sound tone deaf to you? What is this, colonialism 2.0? Anyway, the point of all this, guys, is that as tourists, we should be coming to Bali with respect for the island and its people and its culture, just like you would as a guest in someone's home. And to those foreigners that are staying in Bali longer term, you have an even bigger responsibility to respect the culture and the people that were here long before you decided that Bali is your utopia. Because if you come all the way to Bali just to recreate the same bubble that you were living in your home country, I'm sorry, but, and this might be harsh, but travel is not for you. Just stay home.
The expats in Bali are so unhinged. Outside of a gentrification issue, they are breaking the law. So we all know Bali right now is popping. And it's a really popular travel destination, but now it's starting to get to a point where digital nomads, expat community are wanting to stay there permanently. And according to the Indonesian Travel and Tourism Agency Board, ASITA, they have been observing that foreigners have been using rental accommodations as an office space. Not only that, they have been running tours and travel services around Bali. There are two main issues. One is these digital nomads are using these properties that are designed specifically for tourist accommodations as formal offices, which is violating the premises use. The second thing is that these digital nomads are using tourist and socio-cultural visas to conduct business activities. Like I'm flabbergasted. You cannot be doing that in someone else's country. ASITA is suggesting that some foreigners are even working themselves in roles such as guiding, running, and facilitating tours and retreats. Indonesian law is very clear that anyone on a tourist or sociocultural visa cannot conduct income-generating work while visiting the country. Y'all are mad crazy for this one. But it's okay, because your day is coming. The government sees y'all and sees what y'all doing, so you will be in an Indonesian prison very soon if you don't quit playing games in other people's countries.
Hi, I'm a Bali digital nomad, and I only hang out with people. I live in Bali for 10 years. I can say makasih, sirksuma. I love Bali. Bali's my home. I'm gonna build more villas around here. Yes, I love to bring home Bali dogs, but Bali people only come to my home if you dare to clean it. I didn't choose Bali. Bali chose me. I don't eat Indonesian food. It's too spicy. Yeah, Bali is so nice. You don't need to use helmet. You don't need to use clothes. You don't need to use your brain. Kan? Najis kau?
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Liam. If you're new here, I'm the one who doesn't sugarcoat when people from a certain side of the world start moving like the world still belongs to them. Today we are talking about Bali, Indonesia, and some white digital nomads who thought they could open a run club, lock the door on the actual owners of the land, and keep smiling for the camera. Listen carefully. A group of foreigners, mainly Dutch, started this thing called Entourage Bali. Silent disco runs in Canggu, headphones on, music blasting in their ears, running through the streets of someone else's island like they own the place. They posted the videos, the numbers looked good, the aesthetic was perfect, until the locals tried to join. Then the real story came out. Indonesians applying, getting rejected, being told this is for digital nomads only. Meanwhile, people with European names and foreign numbers, approved in seconds, screenshots everywhere, clear as day. And when the heat came, what did they say? Oh, it was an automated system glitch. Indonesian phone numbers got filtered by mistake. Mistake? You mean the same system that somehow never mistakenly blocked the white applicants? Come on. These two Dutch organizers didn't just get called out. Indonesian immigration put them under investigation for discrimination and for running events without proper permits. They left the country before they could be questioned, and now they're blacklisted, banned, cannot come back. I need y'all to sit with that for a second. In 2026, 2 Europeans got kicked out of Indonesia for treating locals like they don't belong on their own island. And I love it. I love it so much. Because for years we've watched the same pattern. They arrive, they call themselves digital nomads, they build little exclusive bubbles, they talk about community, but the community never includes the people whose land they're standing on. They want the cheap rent, the beautiful beaches, the low cost of living, the Instagram content, but they don't want the actual humans who live there. This is not new. We've seen it in parts of Africa, we've seen it in the Caribbean, we've seen it in Southeast Asia. Same energy every single time. We're just creating a space for people like us. Translation, stay out natives. And for the longest time, they got away with it. Not this time. Indonesia said no. Bali said no. And those 2 Dutch men are now on the blacklist. So, Today we're going to break this whole thing down. Talk about the entitlement, the colonial hangover, the fake apologies, and why this moment actually matters. If you're ready for the real talk, drop a Bali said no in the comments and let's get into it.